tried a new microphone today and it's giving feedback. So I think this whole microphone thing is not going to work. I know that our new friend likes the new mic setup, but I don't feel like it sounds like me. I sound metallic and you can't hear the tone in my voice. And other people have mentioned that I sound muffled, and then others have said they quite like the low tone, and someone said they can't really hear. It wasn't difficult for them to hear me in this way, but they can see the difference when I use an external mic. So because I'm getting different responses, it ends up having to be me that decides, and I've decided that the external mic is not going to work because it just sounds artificial, so I have to rely on an internal mic on a phone, which means I will have to get a new phone. The only issue with that, you can see my ironing skills leave a lot to be desired. Let's just hide it. Let's just pretend you cannot see. You cannot see what's going on back here. What was I saying? The challenge with a new phone. Why have I always relied on a very, very old phone with a really not great internal mic, you might wonder? Two reasons. One is because I don't wear a lot of makeup. Sometimes around my eyes, I'm wearing a little bit of cover up. But other than that, I don't wear makeup, and so I rely on a very nice and generous and gentle camera to make me look lo-fi, vintage, a little bit hazy. If I were to get one of the newer phones, I would look very sharp, which means you'll be able to see all the pores and all the discrepancies in my skin, which is not what I want you to see. So there's I suppose there's a vanity aspect to it. And on top of that, with the newer phones, obviously the microphone gets better as well as the lens, and that means you're going to pick up the sound of the airplanes. I know that our new friend said that I'm assuming you're he, are not bothered by the airplanes in the background. However, I am, and also I think another viewer is too, and I think that's because we listen to me on headphones. I listen to myself when I'm watching a video back just to make sure everything's okay. I listen to myself on headphones. When I take the headphones off, I can see that it does sound louder and more clearer. And you don't really hear the airplanes as badly as if I'm on your ears, in your ears. But you know, everyone listens in a different way, and I think initially when my channel started, maybe some people were staying because of the ASMR aspect, as in people were thinking I was whispering. I am not whispering, my friends. This is my natural voice. It's just that the microphone is not a great microphone, that's all. This is a really old phone, super old model with very, very old technology. So if I do get the new mic, you'll probably be happy with the better internal microphone. If I get a new phone, you'll be happy with the internal microphone. I will likely not be happy with how I look. And if the internal microphone is better, that means the airplanes are going to be louder. So we're going to all have to compromise. Perhaps I'm going to have to be unhappy with how I look. Some of you will be unhappy with having to hear louder airplane noises if you've got headphones on, and others will have to be unhappy that maybe I'm not as loud as an external mic, but I'm louder than when I'm using this phone. So I'm probably going to try and pick up a new phone this week, and if that doesn't work, that means I'm not happy with how I look physically, and you hear the airplanes too loudly if you've got headphones on, then we might have to go back to this method. And yes, I recognize that it's limited the progression of my channel, yeah, I don't have anything to say other than I recognize that it has been limiting for a lot of people. I do honestly think though that if you manipulate certain things on your phone or on your laptop, you can hear me normally. With my phone, just to mention it again, I put it on full peak volume and I can hear myself clearly, even without headphones. And with my laptop, even if I just rely on the YouTube, that's not true. I have to rely on the YouTube slider, volume slider, as well as a little bit of my own button, volume button, and I can hear myself perfectly loudly with headphones or without. So I'm not sure what's happening with other people's setups, but if I do decide to go back to this phone, I will try a new phone, but if I decide to go back to this, I'm sorry that I will have to make that decision. Okay, and yeah, I respect if you can't stay, that's okay, that's all right. It's I get it. I actually have nothing to talk about this week, partly because I've not really spent any time on YouTube, so I don't really know what's going on. Partly because I've spent a fair amount of time on ChatGPT this week looking up phone stuff. ChatGPT is honestly one of the most incredible things, but it's also frustrating on the other hand too, because every time I go on with the same question, it gives me a different answer. So first it was telling me that the iPhone SE 2 or 3 will give me the same lo-fi vintage grainy hazy look that this phone gives me, but with better internal mic quality. And then on another day it was saying that out of the iPhones I'm looking at, iPhone 7, iPhone 8, SE2, SE3, the SE2 and SE3 are actually really the worst, because it's going to give me a very clinical, cold, sharp look, which I'm not looking for. So I'm like, so one of the days I got a little bit like, come on, ChatGPT, can we just be consistent? So I said to Chat, I talked to Chat like I talked to a friend. I said to Chat, but Chat, yesterday you told me that the SE2 and SE3 are the best. And it says, oh, I'm really sorry, I don't know why I said that. So it apologizes, at least Chat apologizes, but come on, we need consistent information, so I'm not wasting my time. So there are limitations with ChatGPT, and I don't know that it's the most useful way to get information, although it's incredibly helpful in terms of health stuff this week as well. I was looking up some health things and it really helped me out a lot. So I think it's an incredible technology. One of the days I even asked it to create a website for me, and it made, I want one kind of landing page, a simple landing page, and it did it in an hour and a half. Had I given it the full 3 hours that it had requested, it probably would have done something really miraculous for me. But in just 1 hour and a half, it created a very simple landing page. So I think if you have a really great business idea, which I don't have currently, I think ChatGPT is amazing. And it's actually in some ways more human than humans, the way it can apologize and the way it can make you feel better. So yeah, incredible. So I hope everyone's happy, and you'll give me a little bit more time to figure out this phone. But if I look too sharp, it's not going to work, you guys. I mean, it's inauthentic that you can't see the real me. I think you can tell from my neck. I'm really selling myself short here, but everyone ages, and I have to accept that I'm aging too. And I want to be very honest about that. I'm not a young buck anymore. I am apparently a mature lady. She laughs. I still feel like I'm in my 20s. I really do. It's very difficult for someone like me to adult up. There's one thing that was on my mind this week. When I am out, I'm always observing people because I'm fascinated by people. And what I notice about couples who have children is that they're always like in a pack. They're always together. Like they're stuck with each other. They cannot not be together. They have to be. I mean, they have to be for their kids' sake. I find that incredibly difficult to observe because I do like my alone time. I'm very happy in my own company. I like solitude. I like my own space, and I like silence. And so I would find that type of setup I would find really difficult. Maybe you get used to it, and maybe that it's worth having this family. I think it's wonderful to have a family. I really do. I mean, my whole modus operandi is my family. But I think you lose a lot of yourself. I really do. I think you lose that freeness. Sometimes I look at couples with children and they just look, and I don't know if I'm projecting. I really don't. Maybe I am. But sometimes they just look dead. And I think when you have a family, as in children and a wife and kids and a husband, you sort of do lose who you are. I don't know, maybe some people are able to manage it. For example, if that were to be my thing, I think it's probably too late for me to have children now, but let's imagine that was me, and I had that setup of a husband and children. I would want my own time and space, so I would say to my husband, okay, you take them for a couple of days, and I will like to just go off and do my own thing, and then when I come back in a couple of days, you can go off and do your own thing, and then we'll have I think it is important. I think I would need to stay me. I don't want to lose myself in coupledom. And even people who are like, this morning I was at 4 a.m. I had literally nothing to talk about. I'll tell you why I've picked up this ability to talk about anything at any point. I'm sure most people can do it, but I'll tell you in a second. I was at about 4 a.m. and incidentally, why are there so many people out at 4 a.m.? You guys, it's not normal. It really isn't. There's just people out at 4 a.m. I think it's because they're probably out from the night before, but some people I saw coming out of their residencies, and there was one couple that I saw together at 4 a.m., very young couple in their 20s, and I thought, they weren't speaking, which is, you don't have to always speak. It's 4 a.m. You want your own quiet time. But I thought, wow, they're like together. They live together, obviously, so they have to be together all the time. And I think when you've had a period of being by yourself, not in a relationship, not coupled up, you become used to that. And there's the danger that you become so used to it that you can't imagine always having someone around. So these are the things that I was thinking about this week, and particularly today. And in terms of being able to just talk about anything, I like silence, I do. I feel most comfortable when I'm with someone and we can have extended silence and say nothing, and it's very natural and normal. But I learned the skill and the ability to speak to absolutely anyone in Japan, because Japanese people are very, very comfortable in silence, which I think is a good thing. I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I think that's actually normal. But for them, it's not because it's necessarily to do with the fact that they're comfortable in silence. It's because there's a group of people who aren't socially capable. And I don't say this in a negative way. It's just a part of Japanese life. There are people who just don't know how to communicate in a social way, even if they're working. And so I had to pick up this skill of just talking to absolutely anyone, and I became so comfortable with it that I became able to just bleed bleed a stone dry. And when I came back to the UK, I tried to undo that because, like I said, I like silence, and I think being able to communicate without speaking is actually a really wonderful thing. You don't need to speak to be able to communicate. But that's probably where I picked up the ability to just be able to talk to absolutely anyone. Actually, I don't even necessarily think it was in Japan. Probably it was in my first job at my university gym, because you've got so many different people coming and going. You know, I like people, but even I can admit that it's exhausting talking to a person who doesn't have a natural way of socializing. What does that mean? Just asking questions, you know. I don't know, I get it, it's boring, like you're in a lift with someone and you have to make small talk. No one wants to make small talk. I don't want to make small talk. I want to go in hard. What did you do last night? Who were you with? What did you learn? Did you learn anything cool? Is there anything you can teach me from your day yesterday? I mean, these are, some people would be mortified by these types of questions, but I have no interest in shallow conversation. So I really, really get it. But sometimes shallow conversation can lead to deeper conversations. So, yeah. Japan. Why am I thinking about Japan? Because I had to speak to a couple of people in Japan this week. These are my acquaintances. And increasingly, the Japanese are very good at shallow talk. They never go deep. And I just don't have time for it. And I played their game when I lived there, but I'm not willing to play that game now at the age that I am. I don't have time for shallow conversation. Unless we can go in deep, there's really nothing between us. So I've now got really comfortable with having these very deep conversations by email. And one of the people that I was speaking to this week, I've known him since my late 20s. That's wild. It's been a long acquaintanceship. But I still don't feel like I know him, and I still feel like he doesn't know me. But we have a connection because we just, I don't know, there was a kind of bond between him and I. I've never mentioned this guy before. Some people you just have bonds with without even knowing anything about them. There's just this kinship, and I can't really explain that other than you just feel comfortable with each other and there's some kind of chemistry. I've actually left the windows open, guys, because I was hoping that I could test this out again whilst I was with you, but the feedback was so bad I just gave up. But there's a buzzy bee flying around. So this week he messaged me, and so I just went in deep. I just thought, I'm going to just go in deep with this guy. So I went in deep, and amazingly, for the first time, he went deep with me as well. And I thought that's just the way that you do it. You go in deep, and if they can't go in deep, then you don't invest your time too much into them, or at least I don't. So that's where I'm at. We go in deep or we don't go in at all. Okay? Now, before I leave you, maybe you'll be happy that this is a short video. Before I leave you, I have to tell you that we've got a new guy on the block on Love Island. His name's Boris, and he's from Slovenia. And Boris is very, very attractive. And Boris, he's got something about him. And just before I leave you, I'm going to play you an Ari track. Ari at Home. There was a guy called Tarik XXL who was on Ari at Home this week or last week. He's got such a lovely voice, and he's got such a beautiful smile. It's very rare to see men with that type of smile, but his smile just lights up the whole place. Okay, what time was Ari on? Not Ari. XXLTarik. He was on Dirty Diana. Yeah. girl called Diana who was on screen for a very, very brief moment. And the first rapper, he couldn't keep her on camera, let's just say. She disappears off. And then for about 10 minutes, these guys are just singing a song about Diana. And I thought, how interesting that she leaves when they're actually singing about her. She missed her moment on camera. I can't find it, can't find me. I leave timestamps on videos. And I'd left timestamp. Is that 2:24:25? Okay, let's go back up and let's see where someone else has timestamped it exactly as well. How are you all? Are you well? I'm sorry I don't have anything interesting to talk about this week. I just think it's nice to come on anyway, because you know, when things are crazy in the world, I often think it's nice to have some kind of stability, and sometimes I think YouTubers who come on regularly, it feels like the world is stable. Does that make sense, you guys? Does it make sense? Oh, this guy. Yes. Maybe that's the hook. I like the one that I recorded, but should I do a second one? This beat maker is insane. That's the beat maker, Ari. There's a third rapper. He's the one who started the whole Diana thing. He comes in as well. I'll leave it for you because it's like this 10-minute track about this girl Diana who was on screen for literally 5 seconds. New York is such a cool space. I think I would fit in really well in New York. I really do, you guys. I've noticed 2 things about New York. Some of the people are very, very, very cool and very chill, such creative people. And then you've got this other group who are a little bit more cool and held back and I don't want to say stuck up, but maybe a little bit not relaxed. That's probably more close to what I'm trying to say. They can't just go with the vibe. So I definitely noticed this about the New York crowd. Okay, he comes back, XXLTarik. Why am I enamored by Tariq? He's Moroccan American, and for a long time I've said to you guys that I tend to, you know, someone who looks exactly like me would be a little bit like maybe dating my own brother, which is not completely accurate because I do see men who have the same colouring as me and I find them very attractive. But I suppose there's got to be something slightly different, at least something maybe cultural even. But Tariq comes on and he's just got the most beautiful smile and he's very affable. He's just a nice person, I think. His car has been parked somewhere and I think it's still running. And Ari, this Ari guy, the beat maker, he just keeps him in place, doesn't let him go. And you can tell that he's worried, Tariq is worried about his car, but he just flows with it. And then eventually he starts He starts rhyming about his car to indicate that he really, really does need to go. But all the while, he's just very cool, very chill, and his smile just lights up the camera. He's a very beautiful young man. If only I was 10 years younger, you guys.
Hey, wait, what the fuck?
He comes back.
Honestly, I tracked your ass down, bro. You're on that way. Let's go that way. Is that where we're going? I'm getting on the speed, though.
This beating's insane.
XXLTarik in the building, come through, bro. Make way for the bro. Got the whole setup. I've been sipping on temptation. I've been puffing on my sins. I can feel any sensations. Psychedelics out of bins. And I've been smoking on that loud. That shit is no surprise. Baby, when the money comes, it comes with all that high. But what if I fuck all my pain away? I'm taking these drugs and I give it my face. Catching the shoes or recording the shit at the shit at the shit at the space. Me and my sons in the link, we ain't leaving no trace. I figure the gal, make it go boom. Now you see it only tune. Eye for eye, I provide a surprise. Oh, I aim for the head and one in his eyes. I can see it in his eyes. He feel he gon' die, he call for his guys. So he tired of running. Oh, he feeling so tired. Against the cry, against the cry. Who gon' get him? He's still gonna try. Put him out of misery. Cops don't know who did it. That shit is a mystery. Pussy, they all on my body. They wanna get next to me. But these pussy ass homies, they give on my body. They gonna get left to me. I'm fucking on Tisha, fucking on Molly, fucking on Tiffany. This was the pain. The thing to me, goosebumps. It's a symphony. I'm speaking the truth. My demons deceiving me. All of my demons ain't leaving me. All of my women ain't treating me great. She feeding me, think she appeasing me. But she don't know that I know that she just thinking of leaving me. Better go if you don't believe in me. Better go if you don't believe in me. Yo, XXLTarik, yo, this is the bro. Making moves every Sunday, bro. Catch him live, bro. It's not every Sunday. Yo, it's when he feels it. He's on it. Give me some more, give me some more. He's an artist,